Well, hello, people. Here for another review. This week, I'm doing Lamb of God's self-titled album, and I was trying to debate if I wanted to do this one this week or do a video this week because I didn't really get that much time to review or at least listen to the record at all. But I decided to, all day I've been listening to it, just playing games or whatever. So I was like, fuck it, might as well review it. But even though that most of the time this is never like a review thing, it's just like, hey, I'm listening to this band like over and over again, like throughout a certain amount of time. And then I talk about like how much I like this band or like what songs that I enjoy out of the record more than anything. And this one, okay, so I've been listening to Lamb of God since their first record, I think. I think it was Ashes Awake. I could be wrong. I think they might have like another one before that one, but I can't remember for sure. But I've been listening to them ever since that album came out. And then I saw them in concert. It was around the same time that that album came out because they were playing with, I think it was Godsmack, or no, it was with Slipknot and this band called The Bled and some other band, I can't remember. It might have been Trivium. Either that or it was Shadows Fall. I don't remember for sure. I've seen way too many bands, so it's hard to remember exactly who played on what part. But anyway, ever since I listened to Ashes of the Wake, I really enjoyed the band. I was constantly listening to them, and they're still in rotation that I listen to every once in a while, especially the Ashes of the Wake record. But like at one point, I don't remember when, there's a few albums just that I couldn't get into or didn't get enough time to listen to, just never really like when you're listening to a lot of music, some shit falls by the wayside, it seems like. And that was one of the bands. I started listening to like a bunch of offshoot and weird bands a lot of the time, and then it was like their music, Lamb of God's music was coming out at the same time or around that same time, and then I just never really got into it that much. Like there was certain songs that I would listen to, but I would never listen to the whole record. It would be like the singles that would come out, and then I would listen to those on repeat. Like especially Sturm and Drang, their last record, which I enjoyed, but I didn't get to listen to every song. So it's like the first 3 or 4 songs, I think, off of that record were ones that I bought and I listened to a lot constantly. That's one thing about me. I like to buy my music instead of like listening to it on Spotify or whatever. I still use Spotify every once in a while, but like I like to support the people that I listen to a lot of the time. So most of the time, if I don't get to check out a band, it's because I haven't bought the songs yet or whatever. It depends on everybody else. It depends on what their feelings on doing digital stuff. A lot of people end up just using it. They do Spotify just because it's easier to do that. Shit, drop something. But what's it called? But this record brings me back to Ashes of the Wake. A lot of the songs are just heavy as fuck. But like it's like most of their singles, Checkmate and Memento, I can't even say it right. Memento Mori, and I think it's called Routes, and then New Colossal Hate. All those songs are awesome, and every time, it's like when I heard all the songs, and then I was like, man, all these songs are fucking really good. It's mostly because it reminds me of like old school Lamb of God, but also bringing it into the new school where it's kind of like the same thing. I mean, even though that Lamb of God sounds like Lamb of God no matter what, like they sound just about the same throughout their whole catalog of music, but It's like, I don't know. I felt like there was just stronger songs on this record. Like a lot of them are like just really good. I love how like I was just reading up on it through iTunes or whatever, and they were talking about how Checkmate is talking about political views and stuff like that, like how it's not about who's in office, not saying that it's Trump or whatever. And it's like, and no matter who's in office is a bad person or whatever, that we gotta fix from the bottom to the top type of shit. And I agree with that, but I'm not gonna get political on here. I just thought that that was a cool little tidbit for the song because like most of the time, I always listen to most of these records and it seems like there's a lot of pain from it, but it seems like some of these songs were based off of like what's in the current climate and everything, but that's also a good thing anyway. You like sometime like this song, album is awesome, especially there's certain songs, I think it's like near the end of the record where it's Poison Dream. I think that's what the name's called, with Jamie Josta in it. I probably am getting it wrong because I always do this like off the cuff and I just say whatever I'm feeling at the moment. So sometimes I don't like write anything down, or most of the time I don't. So then I'm just like, oh, fucking what band was that? But what's it called? But I'm pretty sure it was Poison Dream or something to that effect. But like just the breakdowns in that song and everything, I was just like, man, I could just jam to this, and I want to see them play it live because the first time I saw them, they were just awesome anyway. Like they just had that stage presence most of the time. Like certain bands have this stage presence where no matter what, they have this kind of aura where it's like you're gonna like them. That's how I've been with certain bands all the time. Is that I do it where like I'll hear them like, yeah, especially if I've never listened to them at all or like heard one or two songs, I'll be like, okay, these guys sound like they would be good in concert, so let's try this out. But when I first saw Lamb of God, I think I was listening to the whole first record at the time. So like I was already like into it, and then like it was like exceeding expectations. So I want to hear them do all these songs because it's like brutal and gets you going, especially for like anybody that's into Lamb of God. This is pretty much in your wheelhouse, right? Like I definitely think that just their musicianship and everything just has, and you could tell that they've been playing as a complete band for a while too, because I love how they did a quarantine sessions where it was like a video where they just were all quarantined because the climate now, they're all in the quarantine doing all the and they're all separate and knowing that they can't perform in front of anybody really because of the coronavirus and all that. They did like, I think it was 3 or 4 songs that they did, and like everything just sounded good. I think they started off with, I can't remember which one that they started off with. It was either Checkmate or Memento Mori that they started off with, and then it went straight into Laid to Rest, and it was like it sounded like a complete continuation for me, like they didn't even stop, right? That's mostly why I like this record more than some of the other records, is because this sounds like, I don't know, like Ashes of the Wake 2.0 type of thing, right? But not saying and taking anything away from all their other records, because a lot of their records are really good. It's just like this one just feels different to me. Like it feels like the same. It feels like a 2.0 version of that record, because like everything kind of, I don't know, it kind of sounds similar but different at the same time. Everything has a certain groove to it that kind of reminds me of whenever I was listening to that record, and still do. So it's nice to know that they kind of like, even if they kind of tried to innovate in some of their other records, at least they are like, oh, okay, we'll just keep doing what we enjoy doing, really is the easiest way to do it. And I love how they keep on putting out records a lot of the time. Like some of the bands you don't see, it's like Tool's album. They didn't come out with one for another, like, I think it was like 8 years or 9 years or something like that between Fear Inoculum and the last record that they did. So at least they didn't wait that long, because it's like, especially when it's a great band, you wouldn't want to end up seeing them like take their time and just like take a sabbatical. Even though that bands deserve to end up having that too, because I'm sure writing and touring, like doing a constant set where it's like you making a record, you promoting it, you going out on tour for like a year and a half, give or take, like how many shows you do that year, and then going back into the studio, doing another record, going back out on tour. I'm sure that that gets boring, or not so boring, but like taxing, and it makes you tired as shit. But I mean, also at the same time, it would probably be a fucking awesome thing to do rather than doing a 9 to 5 all the time, you know? That's what, but I highly encourage anybody, especially if you're into like any type of thrash metal, or into Megadeth and Metallica and stuff like that. I mean, these guys are more brutal than them, but you could tell they have influences from like Metallica and Megadeth and Anthrax and all them. Like they probably have like a many influences anyway, but it's hard for me to say like recommend this band because they've been around for so long and they have like a cult, uh a bunch of people already listening to them in the first place. So, but I'm still gonna recommend it anyway. It was mostly I was trying to figure out another record to do between this anyway, because I've been trying to do these weekly, trying to go through like at least one every week, especially if I'm like enjoying a certain record. And next week's one, I don't know exactly what I'm gonna be doing. But I'm sure that I'll come up with something. I think if Eskimo Callboys, that's probably one of the main ones that I'm going to be doing whenever that album drops. Like, they just came out with a single for Hypa Hypa. I think that's how you say it. Whatever. I mean, there's German, or I think it's a German band. Yeah. But, what's it called? So I think eventually that's going to come out, but I might have to do something in the meantime before then. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'll try to do something different other than hip hop and metal next time. That way it's like a little bit different than whatever, like that I have been doing, like with Palais Royale and a bunch of other ones. But anyway, before I end this, I definitely recommend for you guys to listen to this record, especially the singles. The singles are like by far the best ones. I love Resurrection Man. I love the breakdowns in that song. I think it's just super awesome. It's funny, the last albums that I've been reviewing, it's like all the songs like I've enjoyed, like, and I still listen to constantly over the time. I haven't found like a song where I haven't been like, oh, okay, fuck this song, or whatever, or like, because there's certain bands where I'll listen to like 6 or 8 songs, and then I'll find like 4 or 5 that I don't enjoy or whatever. I'll just only listen to certain ones. But lately, the last like all these ones that I've been reviewing, I've been enjoying every song on the record. I think that's maybe why it's a little bit different, is because these I'm not doing like a review on mostly anything new that I haven't listened to. Like, it's mostly just bands that I know that I'm gonna listen to anyway, and it's their albums that came out that year. So I'm like, okay, you guys need to see this band. But what's it called? If you like any of the stuff that I'm doing, I might as well wrap it up anyway. But if you guys like this format, or if you want to recommend any other albums for me to do, just leave them down in the comments. And all our socials are The Heart of Geek. And if you guys want to get in touch with us there, we got a Facebook page, Instagram, all that stuff. And I'm trying to come up with if I want to do something else other than music reviews too, but if you guys enjoy any of this stuff, just I'm like, it's pretty much all my brothers and all of us together. I'm like just trying stuff out and just and giving everybody stuff to like enjoy, really. Like I was just doing a wrestling review just the other day because a viewer requested it. So if you guys like any of that shit, like, subscribe, do any of that jazz, and I will talk to you guys in the next video. Thank you and goodbye.